Hi, I'm Roy, and here is number 8, a breakthrough that could change an ordinary human life into an extraordinary life, its secondary effects, and beyond. And how close are we to really making it come true? This is what ChatGPT has to say.
Biological age control, treating aging itself, instead of waiting for its diseases. Imagine reaching 70, 80, or even 90 years old, yet your body functions far more like it did decades earlier. Not merely looking younger, not hiding wrinkles, not extending life while the body becomes increasingly frail. The breakthrough would be the ability to measure, slow, stop, and eventually reverse important parts of biological aging itself. That distinction matters because your chronological age is simply how many years have passed since you were born. Your biological age reflects what those years have actually done to your cells, tissues, organs, immune system, metabolism, blood vessels, muscles, and brain. Two people can both be 70 years old and have dramatically different levels of biological deterioration. The extraordinary breakthrough would be gaining enough control over the mechanisms driving that deterioration that medicine could deliberately move biological age in the healthier direction. What would actually have to be controlled? Aging is not one single mechanism. Modern aging biology describes a network of interconnected processes, including genomic instability, epigenetic changes, loss of protein, quality control, mitochondrial dysfunction, cellular senescence, stem cell exhaustion, chronic inflammation, altered nutrient sensing, and disrupted communication between cells. So there probably will not be one magical, anti-aging pill. A true biological age control system would more likely combine multiple technologies. It might remove dysfunctional senescent cells, repair accumulated molecular damage, restore mitochondrial function, improve stem cell reserves, correct damaging immune and inflammatory changes, protect DNA, restore healthier gene regulation patterns, and perhaps most dramatically, partially reprogram old cells toward a younger biological state without erasing their identity. That last possibility is becoming one of the most important frontiers in longevity science. Partial cellular reprogramming has produced rejuvenation-like effects in laboratory cells and animals, including reversal of some molecular aging markers and functional improvements in mouse studies. But researchers still face major problems involving delivery, tissue specificity, durability, and safety. What would this mean for an ordinary person? This is where hashite becomes much bigger than simply living longer. Suppose someone turns 65. Instead of medicine waiting for heart disease, osteoporosis, frailty, kidney decline, immune dysfunction, muscle loss, metabolic disease, and perhaps neurodegeneration, their physician periodically measures a detailed biological aging profile. The result might show chronological age, 65. Cardiovascular, biological age, 54. Immune biological age, 69. Musculoskeletal, biological age, 61. Kidney biological age, 66. Overall biological aging rate, accelerating. Medicine could then intervene before those systems cross into disease. That would be an enormous philosophical change. Today, we largely treat the consequences of aging. This technology would attempt to treat the process producing many of those consequences. The extraordinary life effect. If biological aging could genuinely be controlled, something remarkable happens. Your health span begins separating from the traditional human aging curve. A person might remain physically strong enough to travel in their 80s, remain independent much longer, recover from injuries more effectively, maintain stronger immunity, preserve cardiovascular function, avoid or postpone frailty, maintain muscle and bone, and potentially retain healthier brain function longer. Instead of human life commonly following growth, adulthood, gradual deterioration, disease frailty, it could increasingly resemble growth adulthood, prolonged healthy adulthood, much later decline. That would arguably matter more than simply adding years to lifespan. The goal is not, how long can we keep someone alive? It becomes, how long can we keep someone genuinely healthy? Secondary effects. And this breakthrough would ripple through almost everything. retirement could change completely. If a healthy 75-year-old someday has the functional capacity we currently associate with someone decades younger, retiring permanently in one's 60s may no longer be the default structure of life. People could have several careers, several periods of education, long sabbaticals, career changes at 70 that today would seem unusual. Families would change. People might know great-grandchildren, perhaps even later generations, while still being healthy enough to actively participate in their lives. 4- and 5-generation families could become much more common. Healthcare could be transformed. Many major medical expenses occur because aging raises the probability of numerous diseases simultaneously. If aging itself could be slowed, the incidence of several age-associated conditions might also be delayed. That is one of the central motivations behind geroscience, studying whether targeting fundamental aging processes could affect multiple diseases rather than attacking every disease independently. The U.S. National Institute on Aging actively supports research into the fundamental mechanisms of aging. The economy would change. Longer, healthy working lives could increase productivity, but retirement systems, pensions, insurance, inheritance, employment law, housing, and wealth accumulation would all have to adapt. Education would change. A person expecting a much longer healthy life might reasonably retrain several times. Imagine beginning medicine at 55, engineering at 70, a completely new profession at 85. The psychology of choosing one career for life could disappear. But there is a gigantic secondary problem. If biological aging becomes controllable, who gets it? If effective rejuvenation initially costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, wealthier people could gain not merely better houses or better health care, but potentially more healthy years of life. That would create an unprecedented form of inequality. There would also be enormous questions involving population growth, retirement, resource consumption, political leadership, inheritance, employment, insurance, reproduction, and concentration of wealth. Imagine someone accumulating money and influence for 150 healthy years. Our institutions were never designed around that possibility, so aging control would not merely change medicine. It could eventually force civilization to redesign parts of itself. Beyond that, this is where Hashite becomes profound. For almost all of human history, aging has been treated as an unavoidable direction of travel. You can exercise, eat well, avoid smoking, treat disease. But eventually, biological deterioration advances. True biological age control would challenge that assumption. The body could become something that undergoes periodic maintenance. Perhaps every few years you receive a comprehensive biological age assessment. Medicine detects which aging mechanisms are becoming dominant. You receive a personalized combination of interventions. Damaged cell populations are cleared. Stem cell reserves are replenished. Immune function is recalibrated. Certain tissues are regenerated. Epigenetic abnormalities are corrected. Then biological aging is measured again. Eventually we might stop asking, "How old are you?" and begin asking two questions. What is your chronological age? And what is your biological age? Those numbers might become dramatically different. And how close are we, really? This is the important part. We are not currently able to reverse whole-body human aging. As of August 2026, there is no clinically proven treatment that can take an otherwise aging human being and safely restore the entire body to a substantially younger biological state. Anyone claiming we can already do that is getting ahead of the evidence. But several building blocks are becoming real. 1. Measuring biological aging, already emerging. Researchers now have numerous biological aging clocks based on epigenetics, proteins, metabolites, blood measurements, organ function, and other biomarkers. They are becoming increasingly sophisticated, although no single clock yet perfectly measures true biological age. Research in 2026 continues to examine how these clocks relate to health and disease. My estimate, to 60–70% of the way toward clinically useful biological age measurement. Not solved, but increasingly practical. 2. Slowing individual aging mechanisms. Early, but real. Senolytics attempt to remove senescent cells. Human trials have begun. but results are still mixed. For example, an NIA-supported Phase 2 study of intermittent senolytic therapy in postmenopausal women produced only subtle overall effects on bone outcomes. Other interventions are being studied against metabolism, inflammation, mitochondrial function, and other aging mechanisms. My estimate, to 20–30% toward reliably manipulating aging in humans. We know several biological targets. We don't yet know how to safely coordinate them into comprehensive rejuvenation. 3. Partial cellular reprogramming. The wild card. This may be the most exciting development. In animals and cells, carefully controlled reprogramming can reset some age-associated cellular characteristics without completely returning the cells to an embryonic state. And something very significant happened in 2026. The FDA cleared the first human clinical trial of a partial epigenetic reprogramming therapy intended to address an age-related eye disease. It is a limited, tissue-specific experiment, not whole-body rejuvenation, but it represents the first step into human testing for this class of technology. That is a genuine milestone. We have crossed from, could partial reprogramming ever be tested in humans? To, we are beginning to test it. Sidekick probability map. My best evidence-based estimate from where science stands in 2026. Next 5 years, 2026, 2031. Much better biological aging measurements. More clinical trials targeting specific mechanisms of aging. First, meaningful human safety data for partial reprogramming. Increasingly personalized longevity medicine. But no genuine whole-body age reversal. 15 years, roughly 2031, 2041. Plausible arrival of treatments that measurably slow certain aspects of biological aging or rejuvenate selected tissues. Aging-related interventions could start being combined rather than used individually. Some treatments may meaningfully increase health span, 15–30 years, roughly 2041. 2056. This is where genuine biological age management becomes conceivable if several technologies succeed simultaneously. Periodic interventions might restore function to multiple organ systems. A 70-year-old might genuinely possess some biological characteristics typical of a significantly younger person. But this remains speculative. 30+ years. Whole-body rejuvenation becomes scientifically imaginable, but prediction becomes increasingly unreliable this far out. Stopping aging indefinitely is an entirely different problem. We should not assume it will ever be possible. So how close are we? If 100% means a safe, affordable treatment capable of repeatedly restoring an aging person's entire body to a much younger biological condition while preserving identity and without increasing cancer or other serious risks, then I would put humanity somewhere around 10–15%. That sounds low, but there is an important difference between 10% in 2026 and 0. For most of human history, we didn't know enough about the mechanisms of aging even to seriously contemplate controlling them. Now we can identify many of them, measure some of them, manipulate several of them experimentally, reverse certain aging signatures in cells, produce rejuvenation-like effects in animals. And in 2026, we are beginning the first human clinical testing of partial epigenetic reprogramming in a specific tissue. We haven't solved aging, but for perhaps the first time in human history, we have begun engineering against it rather than merely accepting it. Beyond, even that, if we eventually learn to repair biological aging faster than aging produces damage, something fundamentally new happens. Human lifespan may stop being determined primarily by the rate at which our bodies deteriorate. Then the question changes from, how long can humans live, to something humanity has never seriously had to answer. How long do we want a healthy human life to last? And that would not simply make an ordinary life longer. It could completely redefine what an ordinary human life is.